Member for North Coast.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The rich resources and hard-working people of the Northwest have long contributed more than their fair share to the prosperity of our province. Whether through forestry, mining, fishing, or agriculture, the benefits of success have been slow to flow back to the region, leaving communities with aging infrastructure that doesn't meet their needs, the needs of industry, or the needs of the future. We have been listening to northern communities about the need for critical infrastructure and planning funding in order to prepare for development opportunities. We are reversing the legacy of neglect with the new $100 million Northern Capital and Planning Grant. This will help northern communities and the people who live there make the most of new opportunities so that the benefits of resource development are felt for years to come. That means $100 million will be distributed to 22 local governments and the regional districts of Fraser Fort George, Bulkley-Nechako, Kitimat-Stikine, and the North Coast Regional District. As a northern resident for over a decade and a former city councillor before becoming MLA, I know critical infrastructure investments are needed in my community. We've had issues with potable water, accessing our airport, bridges in disrepair, crumbling roads, and a lack of sewer treatment, to name a few of the challenges. We've also had worldwide attention on our port, and many industry proponents have expressed interest in our natural assets, like our proximity to Asian markets and naturally deep harbor. The challenge is we need help getting ready for these industries. We simply have not had the population and thus the tax base to properly maintain our infrastructure. If the Northwest is to support new import and export industries and an influx of workers, we need to plan for the future and provide basic services and infrastructure. I'm proud to be a part of a government that is listening to small northern local communities and responding with $100 million of support. For several years, we've been hearing from northern communities concerned that the state and capacity of their current infrastructure may not be sufficient to meet their future growth needs, especially with recent investment plans such as LNG Canada and Kitimat. The Northern Capital and Planning Grant will help address this gap by providing northern communities with funding they can use now or leverage to help meet future demands over the next few years. This grant is a significant sum of money that may be leveraged with other revenue sources like reserves, borrowing, or other grant programs, such as those offered through the Northern Development Initiative Trust, to cover local capital and planning costs. This $100 million is a one-time investment to help these northern communities in strategic planning and capital investments. This will benefit local governments as they can place this money in reserve funds for future capital and planning and draw it down incrementally as money from the fund is required. This gives more control to local governments over how and when the money is spent, something every local government has asked for. The funding is capped on larger municipalities so that they don't receive a disproportionate amount of funding. At the end of the day, it comes back to fairness. For too long, small northern communities have not been able to prepare for major economic development. We want to ensure that small communities see the benefits from major investments and are able to prepare for their long-term sustainability. The allocation of funds to municipalities is designed to favor the small communities, which both lack economies of scale and a strong commercial and industrial tax base. Infrastructure and long-term planning can be acutely expensive for these smaller communities. That said, it is also important to keep in mind that regional districts and larger municipalities will still receive a substantial amount of funding. Roughly 40% of the grant will flow to the 4 regional districts and 3 largest municipalities. We know there will be an increase in the demand for services and infrastructure in this part of our province over the next few years. I've been advocating for North Coast communities who are already struggling with the burden of aging infrastructure. They need support now, and so we are making a different choice to proactively support people in northern communities as they prepare for the future. Ultimately, this grant is an acknowledgement of the hardworking people of northern communities who need and deserve to benefit from prosperity generated by them and the resources of the region that they live in. The precise dollar allocations will be finalized in the weeks ahead. However, local governments can generally expect to receive the following based on their populations and assessment bases. Municipalities with populations over 10,000 people will receive between $6 and $9 million. Municipalities under 10,000 people will receive between $1 million and $6 million. Regional districts will receive between $1 million and $6 million. To put that in perspective, Terrace will be receiving the equivalent of 1/3 of its annual budget in one payment. The City of Prince Rupert will be receiving about $8 million, or almost 1/4 of its annual budget. Let's hear from a few of the local mayors and what they have to say about our $100 million announcement. Mayor Brain, the mayor of Prince Rupert, has said, quote, "Each community in the north has struggled for years to improve and maintain infrastructure, services, and day-to-day operations that meet the needs of the desired livability outcomes for local residents, small businesses, and industries. The province has listened to our concerns by providing this financial injection, as it will help all our communities begin to tackle those challenges as our region becomes a globally significant national trade corridor." Carol Leclerc, the mayor of Terrace, says, quote, "This is the largest grant the City of Terrace has ever received and represents 1/3 of our annual budget. It gives us the chance to address some of the many outstanding projects we would like to tackle. We are grateful to the provincial government for recognizing the needs of northern communities." Honourable Speaker, I'll leave my remarks for that, and I look forward to hearing from the member opposite.